Welcome back on in. We're going to be resuming with the Ursiiday's Pocket Weekly number 4, so if you saw the last video uploaded on this channel kind of sequentially, it was 2 Mewtwo decks that were at the top, right? And so we've seen a lot of that in tournaments. The top 2 people, top 3, Mewtwo EX, Mewtwo EX. And so I know that there should be some variability. It's just right now, obviously with the state of Pokemon TCG Pocket, we are kind of looking at that as like the main meta. The big 2 is Mewtwo EX and Pikachu EX. So this one was an interesting game. You could essentially call these 2 competitors the top 4. I think it actually ended up being the top 5 just based on how the wins and losses went in the standings. You'll see at the end. So from the bottom, our player's perspective, bottom half is DrakonTV. It could be Drakon, but I'm pretty sure Drakon. And then that top half with a Moltres EX in that active spot is Hayato. And like we say, this is going to be different because it's fire decks. Now, they are both the same typing, so, unfortunately, we're not getting that variability, but what we're gonna see ultimately is on the right side, I've provided you with the deck list for each of the players. So what you'll notice with Hayato is that there is the main difference being 1 Growlithe, but then 2 Arcanine EX, and so the only kind of issue there obviously is that you're not matching your Arcanine EX with your Growlithe, so that means if the Growlithe is out, then even if you have the 2 Arcanines still left, you're not gonna be able to play it. But otherwise, you're gonna see that both players do have 2 on the Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard EX, those 2 cards, and then of course DrakonTV with the kind of normal Charizard card, if you want to call it that, the non-EX version. Now we are, though, of course, Moltres EX with the beautiful alt art right here, doing that Inferno dance, and that's very typical if you've got this Charizard EX deck. It is so well supported by the Moltres EX because of that Inferno dance. Look at that 3 energy right there. This never happens to me. What about you guys? Always getting the tails. Essentially, Tails the Fox is my life. And so anyway, we are seeing the old Amber on DrakonTV's spot as well. That has been a strategy noted before. It looks like Growlithe going to be on the bench, and so that is very good for Hayato, and also the Charmeleon, perhaps even better, of course. So they will now likely get that Inferno dance rolling with, okay, it's going to be Tails on that first flip. It does look like 2 heads, so 2 energy to go down on that Charmeleon there that's on the bench. And so I should mention right about here, what you're seeing in the middle of the screen is taken from essentially a VOD. We have to rely, until there's a spectator client in the game properly, we have to rely on the gumption of other streamers to kind of put up their VODs, keep them public and stuff like that to see these tournaments. But we're making this our own, like I did the background of that bluish gray color from Pocket. We got the deck list on the right, and I'm doing highlight cards on the left for you guys, because obviously this is in a different language, and if I'm speaking English, I know there may be English viewership out there who might need the English trans. Oh gosh, that's gonna be 3 on the tails right here for DrakonTV. Gotta be painful right there. That's essentially gonna feel a lot of the times like a wasted turn, right? It's like I really wanted that energy, of course, for Charmeleon right now in preparation for the Charizard. And so we're gonna see Hayato right now making that decision to put 1 energy down on the Moltres. That's a good plan too, because if you're gonna Inferno dance, even just getting 1 energy from that, I mean, you would like as many as you can get, but even just getting 1 is actually really good just because you're getting something that's extra. It was not guaranteed to you before, and so there it goes. Okay, 1 heads right here to put on Charmeleon. Like I say, you would love for all of it to be heads. You would love for that Charmeleon to just have a ton of energy, because when it's Charizard, using that Crimson Storm is going to require discarding 2 fire energy cards, of course, for the most damage in the game, 200. So look at this, that awesome interactive EX Charizard hitting the bench right now for DrakonTV. This is the change, the part of the formula of these decks is going to be who gets that Charizard first and who has it at least 4 energy first. So part of that is also the Moltres, right? It's this half and half game where you're trying to get this Moltres EX Inferno dancing all the way on through. So both players, though, are stepping up with the Moltres to have 3 energy on it ultimately, because after you're done with the Inferno dance and whatnot, you're gonna see right there Heat Blast to do that 70 damage. Nothing to sneeze at. It ain't no 200, but it's pretty good. And the Moltres EX still holding strong, at least for DrakonTV right here. And so Hayato now at an impasse where it's like, all right, we're gonna have to possibly retreat this, because if you do let that Moltres EX faint, that's gonna be 2 prize packs against you, but also there is that Inferno dance. There's the potential for energy generation. The problem is not not really a viable retreat option at the moment for Hayato, and so you have to wonder, where's that Charizard EX in that deck? All we can say is that it's not here yet, so Moltres EX, another one goes down right here. Both players do have 2 in their deck, and so earlier we did see actually on DrakonTV's side, it's not just this alt art, pretty epic looking one, but also that kind of rainbow borders, the full art Moltres EX, really cool looking. And so we are going to see now the coin toss for the Inferno Dance. It's going to be tails, but then heads. So 2 energy ready to go, and it's going to be placed on the other Moltres EX in case you do kind of need to come out here in a pinch and maybe do some 70 damage. If you don't have Charizard yet, something like that. I'm trying to think of some niche situations, that might come up later for Hayato's side. But hey, DrakonTV right now sitting pretty, I'd say, with that energy advantage, we could call it. The problem will be, of course, the problem would be if Hayato does get that Charizard sooner rather than later. But hey, a Sabrina is now played, and that is going to force Hayato's hand just essentially to decide, do I want to sacrifice the Growlithe? Really, that's the only option unless your Charmeleon gets sacrificed, which obviously is a worse step since that is on the way to your Charizard EX. Definitely grappling with the decision because they're going to let the time go almost to 1-0, but no, Growlithe is out right here, and that will be an Oko. One-hit KO. The Oko, oh no, it's going to break up the band right about now because that Moltres could do it. Charizard could obviously do it. It's just, you don't want to spend that energy if you don't have to, right? And so they're going to go ahead and use that Heat Blast for that 70 damage, and out goes Growlithe. And so Hayato losing a point right now. DrakonTV going to be able to get that first prize point of the game. And so we're going to have to see who gets sent out. Is going to say likely it would be Moltres, but maybe Hayato is thinking we're going to get Charizard right here. I mean, they are a little bit deeper into the decks now. The problem is, what if you're gambling, And that is actually the concession. So no, that's what I was trying to say, is it was kind of rolling the dice, so to speak, metaphorically gambling and hoping for that last-ditch effort of Charizard to be the one that gets drawn, but it was not. So that makes DrakonTV the winner of game number 1, and this is a best of 3, so if Hayato can win this next matchup, then we're gonna go to a game 3 right here. So it is 1-0 so far. I really would appreciate if everybody would like and subscribe right about now. Feel free to give a comment. All that stuff helps, of course, but I only want you to do it if you guys like this kind of stuff, spectator or esports style, broadcasts of tournaments. So game 2 underway, and it looks like heads this time for DrakonTV, who went with tails last time, so would have gone second in that last match. So there it is, that alt art. I guess this is the true alt art, right? The other one was the full art. I might have gotten them backwards when we were commenting in the last game, but look at that Moltres EX. And so now at this point, we're just going to wait and see what Drakon's opponent will go ahead and throw down here into the active and the bench. But ladies and gentlemen, we can also point to the trainer cards we didn't talk verbally about. We have seen it on the right, of course, the whole time, but Pokeball, of course, 2 times on both of them. Professor's Research and Sabrina just on 1. Everything's looking mostly the same except for just 1 potion on the side of Hayato, and then, of course, that old Amber like we mentioned before. But otherwise, so close. These decks, super duper close. It's crazy that we're running into so many mirror matches. At least at the start, as the tournaments were kind of building out that meta, it was usually like a Pikachu EX versus a Mewtwo EX deck. And that was just kind of what we were running into so much. But right now, when you're bringing the heat, these fire decks very, very similar as well. And that's just because, again, there's not a whole lot of variability in the cards right now. I know a lot of people are fans of the Blaine decks, for instance, or like a Centiskorch. And that's to me, that is really interesting. I would like to see that have some prevalence in the tournaments, but they never seem to be in that top 8, top 6, or above. Whatever we end up commentating on is kind of the targets, at least. So here we go. It's Hayato gonna now do that Inferno Dance, and let's see how many coins gonna get flipped to that heads. That's what you're gonna need, as much energy as possible. So that first one is heads, and then tails the fox, and so 2 heads total right here for 2 energy on Charmander up there on the bench. And there's that Charizard EX, the awesome interactive card for DrakonTV. And so, Professor's Research, the PR is played, and they're going to get Potion Pokeball right now. And so the Pokeball, pretty nice just for some backup right now. You're going to have another Charmander right there. There is at least one red card per player right now, and it does not look like Hayato has used one yet. So I did not miss that moment or anything, but we can now kind of double Inferno Dance it because, of course, DrakonTV went first this time around. So didn't really get to put the energy down, didn't get to make a move on that first turn. Kind of a delay, you know what I'm saying? And so there is going to be tails, and then heads. So at least thank Arceus for that. One head's going to go on the Charmander. Amazing artwork on that Charmander card, and my favorite Pokemon of all time, ladies and gentlemen. And so I'm sure you care about that. So let's see it. Moltres right now for Hayato. The Moltres EX likely gonna, yes, it's gonna get that energy placed down on top, and then of course Charmeleon goes down on the bench, and they're gonna hope that they have Charizard for the next turn around. Unlike last game, you know, Hayato really did want that, really did need it. Kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, especially against a Charizard. That's doubly super effective, am I right, my friends? Okay, enough cheesy jokes. Here we go. It's gonna be one on that heads, and so there's an energy down for Charmeleon, and hey, we got Charmeleon right here for DrakonTV, whom we know has that Charizard EX in hand, and so that will be lying in wait at the ready, and they've got one energy, likely could go down on Moltres EX, kind of in a repeat of last time, or this could be the other move. That's what we're going to talk about. Could not get to it in time, but could start it on the Charmeleon, try to get that energy, of course, before the opponent, and so that can be a good move, especially if Hayato is the one that has the energy kind of advantage and turn advantage with that. That is a decent choice, you know, you're at that impasse. Do I want to keep charging up my Moltres EX with that energy? But no, it looks like there is going to be heads, and triple heads right here. Sets it up very nicely. They could potentially put them all on Charmeleon or throw one to Moltres EX. Likely, though, for Charmeleon, because you're going to have to discard that energy, and so this will set them up very nicely. They do that, and so you'll be able to do that 200 damage with Charizard EX. It's going to be absolutely devastating. Still have an energy buffer right there, and they'll be able to place an energy on the next turn. So actually you'll be able to do another Crimson Storm whenever they want, unless something happens in the meantime. Can they eliminate Charizard? Hayato really would have to come out swinging, and so we're going to have to see what transpires here. As you notice, I think both players now, they definitely have to kind of think carefully about those next steps. You do not want to mess this up. The stakes are very high at this point. We'll now see as the time limit coming up on screen for us. So they will put down an energy on the Moltres EX that will be able to allow for the Heat Blast right here, maybe create a little bit of pressure, but the problem is they really did need that Charizard, and they need that probably quick. Either that, I mean, if you're going to Arcanine EX, I'm not sure that, of course, the Inferno Onrush, that's its attack. It is going to do damage to itself. It would take 3 energy. It's, you know, not really stacked up to go against this Charizard EX as it stands, and so look at that. Charizard EX, interactive. It's going to be on the bench right now for DrakonTV. So right now, the Moltres would need to be retreated from DrakonTV's side right here in the active if they did not want to suffer the 2 prize pack loss. The problem is you really do want Charizard to not take the damage on that next turn. It's like nice when the Charizard can kind of be the aggressor on the attack and not take the damage. So it can be a little bit iffy. Now it's like, of course, you also have the Moltres EX over there on the bench for DrakonTV. It's just there's not a whole lot of options right now, and so they will put the second energy on down, likely again for that retreat, I would imagine. Now, there could be some surprises, you know, they could be banking on something I can't see, but you know, you really wouldn't attach that energy unless you wanted it to get out of here. So yes, there it goes, and that will be Charizard EX, the interactive, awesome, epic card. Now, they did not get to place an extra energy on it, and they ran out of time. That's got to be so painful. That is just the worst. That I think that's it. That might have done it. They really, this is a game of turns, especially this match, and definitely the luck, but wow. So yeah, that is the concession right here, and that's going to send it on to a Game 3 because Hayato is going to take game number 2 in this top 8 match of Ursiiday's Pocket Weekly. You know, because I spoiled it at the start, that these are not the competitors that made it to the top 2 of the entire tournament, but definitely worthy as they battle it out right here. So, my friends, I really don't know what's going to happen next. It's just that was absolute pain on DrakonTV's side. So, I mean, Hayato had the Charizard EX anyway, so it could have been that result still. So Charmander gonna be the one in the active spot. No Moltres EX right here. And so, need it be reiterated, like I said, we get these from the streamers, and so those Dragonites down there covering up the hand, it's not my choice to do that, otherwise I would allow us to look at the hand drawn. But something I like to say and remind people is that probably on a lot of like official broadcasts and whatnot, you wouldn't be able to see the hand, I would imagine. So here we go. It's gonna be a Pokeball placed down after the Moltres EX, another Moltres EX here for the bench, could be potentially here for DrakonTV, who plays another Pokeball. And so that card is going to give them the Charmander. Once again, beautiful card. And so it does look like a few options still left here. Do you want to put some more onto the bench? Not necessary if you don't want to show your hand, quote unquote. You got to remember, of course, there are red cards just once on each player's set, but you know, sometimes people are opting not to do the red card even if they feel it's an advantageous time, just because when you start getting down lower into the deck, it is going to shuffle that deck around. And so if someone is, say, looking for that Charizard EX or something that they really need, you know, they're really trying to pull that pinch hitter, well, you may actually give it to them with that red card. And so it looks like Hayato going to be sending in the Growlithe. Are we going to see Arcanine EX this time? I'm not quite sure. It looks like these Charmander with the Flare, they are going to be hitting the bench here for Hayato's side. And we saw, I think, yeah, here we go. It's going to be the X Speed, so that will allow for a free retreat, which is nice for DrakonTV's side, and they will send in this Moltres EX to start the Inferno Dance. I was going to say to start the dance of the Inferno Dance. But yeah, like we were mentioning before, you know, it is quite often the rush to do that, you know, that's the first part of the formula is, can this Moltres EX just generate so much energy, even over-generate it and whatnot by the time you have that Charizard EX? Of course, you got to have Charmeleon in there, can't just skip to it. But hey, there's going to be first heads down, a tails, and a head. So 2 energy placed down on that Charmander on the bench for DrakonTV. Hayato's turn right now, and again, we're going to have to see, is there a Charmeleon in play? Is there going to be a Moltres EX? These are the kinds of things that we are looking for. And so we are going to eventually notice, of course, the Charmeleon does get placed down finally. And so you have to kind of wonder, you know, is there a Moltres somewhere in there coming soon? Because now that DrakonTV is going, it does look like they have Charmeleon and they will be able to place down a Charmander. And then, of course, Moltres EX right here for the bench. And again, you want to charge up this Moltres EX in the active spot, but then also do Inferno Dance to give that Charmeleon any extra energy, at least 2 if you're going to kind of divert resources. You could give some to Charmander that has hit the bench now. Ultimately, we'll see if you would have to have the luck of having all heads on that one. And so they will Inferno Dance it up right here. So it's all about the coin toss. They are doing great with these heads, and it's going to be heads, tails, tails. So there's 1 energy placed down. Like I say, nothing wrong with that exactly. You want as many as you can get, though. So with Hayato's turn playing out right now, again, it's like we are wondering, is there a bad hand going on, or is there some kind of strategy that we just totally can't think of? There's the Charizard. The regular Charizard here is actually lying in wait for DrakonTV as well. So if they did want to play that, they will have the option. And so it looks like going to put down another energy on Charmeleon, and there is a Moltres EX. Is it better late than never, or is this just over? We gotta see it. DrakonTV gets the Sabrina right here, so we'll be able to potentially bait out whatever kind of switch they might be looking for here. A lot of basic Pokemon were on the bench though early on from Hayato's side, and so DrakonTV can now also attack with this Moltres. So for 70 damage on that Heat Blast, sets up several options for DrakonTV here. You would have to wonder though, is it more advantageous to get more energy right now or no? But I would say if you can get that Growlithe on out of here, yep, there we go. That is the plan. So it's an Oko. The Oko Ono breaks up the band of Hayato's playmat, their area, because right here, you're going to lose that Growlithe, which means no Arcanine plays this game. But of course, right about now, they have to make the choice. Do we send in this Charmeleon to kind of take damage at this time? But the other potential is, of course, the Moltres, which will also take the damage. And it would only be able to do like one Inferno dance before then needing to go out potentially. Just kind of all depends, of course, on DrakonTV playing a Charizard EX or not. And so Charmeleon is right out here. Maybe last ditch effort. I mean, Fire Claws for 60 damage is decent, but there we go. Okay, so that's what we were looking for. Charizard EX, first one out here in the active spot for Game 3 right now. And that's going to have the 4 energy, so we'll be able to Oko Ono on this Moltres EX. Should they decide to, I would imagine they would. You don't want it generating anything else, whether that's damage or energy. You don't want it doing either or. And so, looks like they are kind of mulling over the decision though, so kind of interesting, but here we go. It's gonna be Crimson Storm for 200, and that means you gotta discard, of course, 2 of those fire energies. And so, next turn could be a little bit interesting, of course, for Hayato, but right now, DrakonTV does have a Charizard, I believe, EX lying at the ready, and so they will have, yep, they're gonna go ahead and draw one right there. And so they do also have an energy, so this is good timing right here for DrakonTV. And so there it goes, that last energy gonna go on Charizard EX, and you obviously know they have taken out that Growlithe already, so we know what's gonna happen right here with that Crimson Storm. It looks like DrakonTV for the win, and they will be advancing, going on in Ursiiday's Pocket weekly number 4 victory for DrakonTV. Definitely interesting, but you're going to see that DrakonTV actually ended up in 4th place because, again, like I said, they were in the top 5. They actually weren't in the top 4. Hayato from Japan, Drakon TCG or TV from Italy, and then, of course, the previous video, which you guys can click an end screen on screen to see, we'll link to that, was Mojo Sueco versus Sigfail. Unfortunately, you are seeing the spoiler alert of who wins that, but feel free to go watch the video if you have not seen it, and I'll catch you guys over there, and thanks for viewing.